Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Not Your Day Job. I have a great guest today, musical artist and entrepreneur,
Yes, sir.
MKB. MKB, welcome to the show.
What's up, man? Thank you for having me.
Hey, I appreciate it.
For sure.
So, are you originally from the Triangle area?
Yes, born and raised Raleigh, North Carolina. Well, Garner, but I claim Raleigh because that's where I grew up at. So they right beside each other though. So yeah, Raleigh.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you feel about the music scene around the Triangle area? Could you kind of describe it for people?
I mean, I think we have a very diverse and versatile music scene. There are a lot of artists that make a bunch of different musics that have, I feel like as a city or just as an area like the Triangle area, we've cultivated like many different sounds. We don't really have like our own cultural identity to where when people hear that, they're like, oh, that's North Carolina music. You know what I mean? But I think like we take inspiration from different places. So we have a lot of different music in one, you know, like a melting pot, if you will. Yeah.
And what inspired you personally to start getting into music?
You know, I always credit that to my uncles, you know. Rest in peace, my late Uncle C. High. And also my Uncle Bree, you know, he's still living, but they were instrumental pieces in me picking up the pen, getting into music, because, you know, my Uncle Bree, he was out and he still is out, you know, running around with his team. And, you know, they were just doing the whole independent music grind. They were, you know, printing their T-shirts and burning their CDs and performing at these clubs. So I think just like seeing him do, I just remember one day my mom, she turned on, it was around the time Dreams and Nightmares came out by Meek Mill. He did like a remix. My mom put it on the radio and I just heard it and it just sparked, like clicked in my mind, like, yo, like he's really on the radio. Like, even though it was just his music, he went on the actual station. She was just playing it. I just heard him coming out the same speakers that I hear these other, you know, mainstream songs come out. So it just made it click like that. Like, yo, like I can actually do that, you know?
And what are some of the artists that you started listening to as you got into music? You started listening to music that really were like, man, I want to kind of get that element from them.
Mm-hmm. Man, I credit my dad for this. Like, you know, we still talk music crazy to this day, but like, you know, I would say J. Cole, of course, T.I., Lil Wayne, Jay-Z, a little bit of Logic. People be sleeping on Logic. You know Logic, the rap artist?
Absolutely.
Yeah, people sleep on him, but like he was instrumental in my earlier years of like getting into music. He was instrumental too. Logic, Eminem, Nas, Tupac. Yeah, man, I was into everybody, you know, coming up. So yeah, I credit that to my dad though.
Do you think listening to a lot of those different types of artists kind of like helped you be more versatile with your style?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, man, all of those artists that I just named have their own unique sound and style and story. And I think that kind of helped me like with just like not being afraid to experiment with different sounds, and also knowing that, you know, you can make your story sound cool, whatever that story may be. You don't have to sound like this person, you know what I'm saying, for your music for people to gravitate towards your music. You know, I always live by the motto, like when I put songs out, it's like if you like it and you put it out, there's at least 100 other people in the world that like the exact same thing that you like, or can at least relate to your story in some way. You know, even if it's not what's broadcasted, or, you know, if it's not the cool way that, you know, people would perceive as like cool, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know, like your story still means something. So those artists definitely gave me those lessons.
Do you believe there's a particular style that I guess you lean into the most when you're working on your music, or is it really just very even across the board?
A style? Not really. I mean, because, you know, early on it was more boom bap. I was more like, I had this wall in high school in my room that had like all of my like just icons, like black icons and rappers that I was into. And I was really into like 90s New York hip hop. So early on, I was real boom bap. Like they kind of started calling me, like as a joke, my family, they call me Hoodie Mikey. I used to get on Instagram and do the videos, but I used to really try to like, I'm the best rapper alive. You know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of how I started off. But now, as I got older and I just, you know, went through life and kind of just started to understand what life is about, I just like to aim to have fun now. So however I'm feeling that day, you know, I might be on some. Can I cuss on here or what?
Yeah,
No.
you can.
Okay, so I might be on some trap shit one day, or another day I might be on some more so lyrical, trying to tell a story or a message, or one day I might be R&B. You know what I'm saying? I might be harmonizing and melodizing a little bit. So it really varies based on how I feel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about, your years of making music, and I thought this would be a really good question to ask is,
Mm-hmm.
do you remember the first song that you ever made, and how would it compare to the music you make today?
That's a great question. The first song I ever made, man, I have a whole file in my notes on my phone. It's called Oldies, and I got all my old songs. I don't know exactly which one like was my first song. I feel like, do you know the song "Affirmative Action" by Nas?
I cannot remember that melody off the top of my head. And
You can't remember. I can't remember it either, but I know it was that beat. I remember I went on YouTube. I found an Affirmative Action beat. I plugged up my headphones to or some random headphones I found in the couch. Plugged it into a little laptop I had at the time. I was probably like in 10th grade, something like that. And I remember I just started trying to like rap over that beat, and it was terrible. I'm sure I got it in my Gmail somewhere, but yeah, it was terrible. Like in comparison to now, I'll put it like this. Now when I put out a song, very seldom will you hear someone say they don't like it or that it's trash. Back then, my own dad would tell me it was trash. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he still will to this day.
You need truth tellers around you. You don't
do.
need just yes man. Yeah.
You do, exactly. And that's one thing I always credit to him and just the people around me. Like, even my girl, she'll tell me, like, if I show them something, my dad, my girl, like anybody around me, if I show them something and they genuinely don't like it, they will tell me. But like, in those early stages, I do think it's important for you to have those people who are telling you the truth, because it helps you grow as an artist. Even though back then I used to be pissed off, like I said, my uncle C High, he used to dog me out, just yo, that's trash. That's not that. Like, it's not going nowhere. Like, it hurt my feelings, but it made me experiment and grow. So now, like I said, it's very rare that I play a song or I put a song out and people, don't like it. I feel like that's just due to me putting them hours in. Like, I've been rapping for a while now.
Absolutely. And when you talk about putting in the work, what was the thing that you felt like you needed to work on more? Was it kind of the performance and the delivery, or was it really just the pen and getting more creative? Or, a lot of people will start recording their own music, right? You don't have an engineer yet. Or was it simply more of a technical thing?
Man, that's a great question as well. I would say a culmination of all of those things, man, because I didn't have it. I'm 23 now. When I first started rapping, like, even like just playing around with it, I was probably like 17. I didn't have no job. I didn't have no money to go to a studio. So I had to learn how to mix. I had to learn how to record, master. I also had to learn what it means to have a good take. A lot of people try to mix their own music. They wonder why it sounds bad. Is because the number one rule to mixing is, in order to have a good mix, you have to have a great take. So your vocal presence on a microphone, how you're saying it, the confidence, the cadence, the flow, like you said, the technicality of actually recording, because that's a skill within itself, just being in front of the microphone like this and being able to speak into the microphone, so I had to learn that. All of that stuff, man, that you just said, it's pretty much, you answered the question. Like, that's everything I had to learn in the beginning, and I'm still learning, but now it's got to a point where, I feel like I'm seasoned. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's more like second nature now for me,
Yeah. And I see that with like other artists, like you mentioned J. Cole. And even J. Cole felt like, going into some of the latest ones, like Might Delete Later, he was just saying, I'm continuing to sharpen my pen. This is the time where people fall off, but I feel like I'm in my prime still, like I'm just getting better. So I feel like it's a consistent grind, just like you mentioned. And, listening to some of your music, there's so many different elements that you have in your music. You talk about the street music. Right. You also get introspective and more personal with some songs that I see right there, things that really kind of hit at your heart.
Right.
And, do you feel that, getting that personal on a song is, I don't know, is it something that sometimes is uncomfortable, or does that come natural?
I think it comes natural. I know some artists are like very like private when it comes to certain stuff in their life, but the way I see it is I can't give you, you know, my genuine art, and I think it's just about how you put it out there. Like if it's multiple ways that you could say the same thing, if that makes any sense. So no, I won't go out there and I may not tell, like I might not get super personal, like you mentioned J. Cole. Like a lot of times I know in his earlier music, he just used to like, I'm trying to find a way to say it. He'll just like throw it out there for you. Like if let's say somebody's a drug addict, he say so-and-so is a drug addict.
Yeah.
But as you grow as an artist and you develop, you learn that there are multiple ways you could say that same thing. You could say, well, so-and-so struggled with, like, you know what I'm saying?
I get that. It kind of goes back to, I think Kendrick Lamar, going back to, man, I think it was Section 80.
Mm-hmm.
And he has a lot of personal stories in there,
Mm-hmm.
you know, about struggle, you know, through his neighborhoods and through different characters. And sometimes it is talking about a real character or something that's akin to like multiple things he saw growing up. So I think there are definitely different ways that you can express yourself and kind of get that message about your life out.
Right.
Absolutely. I agree. And you know, I think also having fun is a really good important part, because sometimes J. Cole, which I love J. Cole, but I get the critics saying, hey man, your bro always getting too like into his thoughts and like getting deep about something, and it's a party record. Like I don't want to hear that, you know. You know, so I see your latest release, you know, was a Sexy Drill.
Yep.
And that, I love the intro. It sets the mood.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? And it's something for the ladies. And I think there's a lot of rappers that kind of don't lean into that as much.
Yeah.
But like you said, I hear there's a lot of versatility in your music.
Right.
So how important was that, you know, project to do something for the ladies?
That came from my girl. Like she told me, cause you know, she liked to go out and have a good time herself. So, you know, she been here through my whole musical journey to like see me from the beginning and the music that I was making and the path that I was on. She always tell me like, you got to experiment with these records. You got to try to do these records, like have a little more fun, loosen up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So Sexy Drill, that was my main objective in life at that time, and life still is, but especially at that time was going really good. I just felt good. And I think you can kind of feel that when you listen to the music. Like I just, like in this recent show that I just did, MKB and Friends, like, yo, like,
Oh yeah, we're gonna talk about that.
man, we're gonna talk about it. But I'm telling you, yo, like when you hear those songs, like it just invokes a feeling. You know what I mean? And I just wanted the ladies, you know what I'm saying? Like when you listen to it, you feel sexy, or you feel like you want to move, groove, dance. You feel me? And it would, that, like those type of tapes are always the easiest for me to make, because it's just me having fun. You know what I'm saying? I go off the feeling. If it don't feel right, it ain't making the tape, or it's not going out. You know what I'm saying? So
absolutely,
I enjoy making that tape for sure.
I think it reminds me too. 50 Cent was on, I believe it was The Breakfast Club, and he was talking about how he brought up artists like Lloyd Banks underneath G Unit, and he was kind of like, cool, we can do the hood music, right? We can do gangster. But when he started to put out tracks with Lloyd Banks that were more for the ladies, those tracks went further. Those tracks did more numbers. And so do you feel that's the same in your music, or it's been about the same?
Man, I always say this. Men like what the ladies like. You know what I'm saying? That's why, and I'm not going to get too far off topic, but this relates to what we're saying.
Absolutely.
That's why when you go to a club, for example, if I go to the club and I walk up to a club door, it's going to be, security-wise, it's going to be a different experience than a woman. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
They might know. You know what I'm saying? They might let the girl in there free. They might let her slide with some stuff, partly because they attracted to her. The other half is it's good business. You know, if it's 100 females in here, it's going to be 200 men in here.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
And they all gonna pay that entry fee.
And they all gonna pay that.
It, you know
what I'm saying? So that's kind of like, it relates to music in a sense, because when you get those ladies on your side, you know what I'm saying, and you get women to, like, it's good to have a male audience, but I'm telling you, when you get that female, you just see what Chris Brown did yesterday.
Oh boy, shut everything down. Look, man,
you know what I'm saying?
I had a friend trying to get out there, and she was like, "I'm 2 hours still on the road trying to make it there."
Look, you know? Man, look, I'm telling you, bro. When you get the females and the ladies on your side, you know, it's a different type of feeling, and it also lets you know that you're going in the right path. Because with me being a male myself, obviously I cannot relate to a woman, but I can make music that makes a woman feel good or makes a woman feel a certain type of way. And I think that's something that a lot of art, especially like in my city, my area, like people need to take note of, you know what I'm saying? Because you know, the men only gonna take you so far, you know what I'm saying? Honestly, just honestly speaking.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, you know, you're doing a lot of performances we see, and I think I was thinking, I was like, the response from the ladies has got to be, you know, infectious, you know, in the crowd.
Right,
when you start playing those songs, then, you know, it gets everybody involved, because the ladies gonna feel it, which brings those in, the men gonna feel it because the ladies feeling it.
Right.
So I think every single thing goes together.
Right.
But I did want to go to something that I saw you mentioned before. You were on another show and talking about, hey man, you know, if you don't have a label with you, you know, you have your phone, you have the drive, and it's like people kind of wait for something to happen. I need the label, I need this. And you said, no, let's put in the work, like make it happen. So, you know, for you, how important is it to be self-motivated and put in the work when you're trying to chase this music dream?
Man, honestly, it's everything. You know, you have to, man, not everybody's blessed to have someone that's in the industry that's just going to put you on, or to know somebody that knows somebody. You know, most of these people out here that's, you know, getting to where they at, and you have to be your own, for one, your own believer. You have to believe in yourself when no one else believes in you, when everybody else say, oh, that ain't it. That you got to have the drive to keep going, you know, and that's the only separating factor between me and everyone else. I love this quote by Nipsey Hussle, but he always said, like, this is the number one difference between me and everyone else who's doing the same thing I'm doing, is I never quit. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to keep going. They could tell me no 100 times. I'm going to keep going. Like, it's nothing you can tell me to make me stop doing what I'm doing. I'm always on to the next thing and trying to put in the work. You can't just sit around and wait for somebody to, if you don't take yourself serious, nobody else is going to take you serious. You know what I'm saying?
Amen to that. Yep.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people don't reach their potential just because they don't continue, or either don't try.
Right.
Don't try, I think, is the worst one.
Yeah.
But also some people do put in the work, and I think I've learned from myself is like, don't live for the applause.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
You got to put in the work when people kind of like, oh, you're doing music or you doing this. It's like, why don't you just stop? Right?
Yeah,
it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But I think if you believe in yourself first, like you said, self-motivated, then that's probably why 90% of people fails, because that 10% push through.
Exactly.
And when you talk about, you know, putting in work too, could you talk about the process of creating MKB and Friends and the idea behind that?
Yeah, man, it was crazy. Like, I gotta give props to my guy King Kai. Like, I will consistent. I will, every time that question gets brought up, I say, like, King Kai, he's an artist that I had on my last show. And I went to his show, so he did kind of the same thing on a smaller scale. He didn't have as many artists. It was just him and two other artists. And I went to his show, and I just kind of, it made me kind of see that, like, this is possible. You can actually book yourself and book other artists. You don't have to wait on performances, because that was my only thing. I was doing all the work, and like I mentioned, CJ Monet Carly, she put me on my first show with Not a Show.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so she put me on my first show, and I feel like I had been working forever, and I was like, I only got one performance, one show. It's like, they ain't reaching out, like, you know what I'm saying? So when I seen that, man, it just put that idea in my head, planted that seed of like, yo, I can really do this, and not only can I perform myself, I could put my homies on. I know a million rappers in my city, you know what I'm saying, who would kill for that opportunity. So shouts out Kai. He definitely planted the seed, just going to his show and seeing what, you know, he did. But from that point, I just got to thinking about the city and what the city lack, and why we still haven't had, and I stand by this because people argue me down about this all the time, why we still have not had a mainstream artist pop, born and raised from Raleigh, Durham, Cary, Chapel, whatever, the Triangle. Why we ain't had an artist pop from here? And a lot of time it's because we have had people get that little kiss of industry success. They might get a little hit song or something, and, you know, they might get into the industry, but then they forget about you know, they don't shine the light.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? On the city. They don't bring it back home like other cities do. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, yo, went there, seen his show. I'm like, man, I can do this myself, but I feel like it would be better if I brought my homies up there with me, or just people that I love that I know make good music.
Yeah.
And the rest is history. Like, you know, we made noise. People that I never thought was even paying attention to my page, or they started reaching out. People was trying to get on the show. They was they was asking me to come to their show. Like, you know, it made me aware of the power of unity and what we have when we actually come together.
Absolutely.
And do something like that. And it was not easy, you know, not having a team. Shout out my bro Ozzy. You know, Ozzy is like my other half when it comes to MKB and Friends. Like, we put it on our back. Everything from production, business wise, everything. We just tried so hard to separate it from your average showcase. We wanted it to feel like family community event. You know what I'm saying? And it turned out to be that.
The one word that you said, and I actually have it in my questions, is community. And so you're bringing together so many artists around an area, and you putting in this work is helping solve a problem not only for yourself, but it's helping solve a problem for them.
Right.
Because it is hard to kind of put your name out there, get booked for shows, things of that nature. And so you're creating the pathway. So my question is, how important is it for you to build community?
Man, it's very important to me. And I always preach community, because it's like, we just don't have a lot of that, you know, in the city, and just, and I ain't gonna say the South, but just North Carolina, it's not a lot of real community. Now, like, you know, it's a couple people that do their thing, and, you know, like, you know, it's getting there, you know, it's getting better than it was in past years. But I just remember coming up as an artist when I first started, and just looking around and just feeling like I'm out here by myself. We got 200-300 artists, but we don't work together. People, they get a little Instagram buzz, and they just be like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like, bro, nah. And then, or they want you to, and I understand the business of it now that I've thrown my own show, but they want you to pay them to perform at their show, and they don't even got a brand to be charging you for real. They just trying to put extra money in their pocket. Like, it's just stuff like that. That's like, bro, we are so far behind. I
mean, I can talk about like our interaction, and you were talking about, you know, my show that I'm doing here, and you were like, you know, do you charge for this? And I'm like, no. I'm like, you know, for me, I have, of course, you know, we're about our business, right? We do want to, you know, take it seriously and make money, but I think it's about building community first.
Right.
The money comes, but a lot of people focus on the money. They forget about community. They forget about the people themselves.
Right. Exactly.
And then they end up folding.
Exactly.
You know, and how often do you have MKB and Friends? How often?
I mean,
does that show happen?
Honestly, that was the first one that we did in August. That was the first one. I'm thinking about bringing it back. We announced one for November, but we're gonna probably have to reschedule that one just due to some scheduling issues with the artists and stuff like that. We probably gonna have to reschedule, but it's something that I definitely want to bring back at least like quarterly, like maybe you know, like maybe, you know, like 3-4 times a year, maybe. You know, I'm still kind of working out the kinks of that, but. Yeah, I definitely want to bring it back and make it a recurring thing.
Yeah. I also wanted to go and circle back to when you were talking about a lot of artists go off and don't bring it back home. But I did want to take the opportunity, anytime I get a chance to shout out some people who have brought things back home.
Okay.
So shout out to Lil Brother, which is Fonte, rapper Big Pooh.
Yeah. Yo, that's a little before my time.
I know that.
Lil Brother, I know the name though.
I know. Yeah. And I will say they didn't pop as big as many other artists, probably like a J. Cole, nowhere near. But I would say shout out to them. They definitely be in the community. They definitely bring things back home. And also shout out to the legendary Grammy award-winning producer, Ninth Wonder.
Yep.
You know,
for sure.
Right?
I know, yep.
I'm going to get you on the podcast. I'm just saying.
We manifested that for this year.
You know, Lil Brother too. You already know what it is. But yeah, moving back to MKB and Friends. So how do you balance between creating that show and creating that platform in that community, but also giving yourself the attention to kind of push your own music?
Man, it's crazy you asked that, because I was just talking to my dad about that yesterday. Like, I'm still trying to find that balance, you know, because although I love to help everybody, and I want to help everybody, and I'm going to continue to help everybody. I also have to put that same amount of effort and priority into my own career so that I can push myself to heights to really shed the light. Because right now I feel like what it is now is just shedding the light within North Carolina, like on these artists. But my goal long term is to be able to shed light from the world. I want everybody to see what North Carolina has to offer. And I don't think I'd be able to do that without pushing myself just as hard so that I can get to that point, if that makes sense. I know a lot of artists, that's cliche. A lot of artists say, oh, I want to make it to the top, so I come back and then don't never come back. But like, that's genuine. That's just the type of person I am, bro. I don't, when it came to MKB and Friends, I didn't charge one artist, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? I didn't charge nobody. I paid people what they were worth. You know what I'm saying? What I asked them, like, the only people that really were paid were the people that were outsourced. So like cameraman, DJ, the artists came up there for the opportunity, but I asked everybody, what's your price? It wasn't too high or low. I paid them exactly what they asked for. Yeah. So it's like, that's just the person I am, bro. Everybody around me can, attest to that. Like, I didn't charge people to come up there. I'm never going to charge people to, I'm doing this because I see the bigger picture. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So I think like now going forward, you will start to see a lot more of me pushing my own brand a lot heavier, and still not forgetting about the show, but just giving it, its own space without colliding too much with what I have going on at the same time.
And I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, Dreamville Fest, rest in peace.
I see you with the hat on. I was looking like,
fifth and final. But shout out to J. Cole. I mean, he had to pursue his dreams. He had to pursue, his business ventures for himself, his own brand personally, or else Dreamville Fest wouldn't be what it is today, right? So I think that makes sense. I think if anybody thinking that's selfish, it's like, no. Yeah. It's like, when I grow, everything else can grow with it.
Exactly.
And that makes sense.
Right.
On your journey in music and business, do you have some significant lessons, that you've learned along the way?
Yeah. I think the number one thing is just being resourceful. Like, being resourceful is everything. Using what you have currently, like, goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Stop waiting on people to give you a hand or lend you a hand. I guarantee you, if you look around your house, you got something that you can use to start that business that you keep saying you gonna start, but you ain't never starting. Or I tell my people this all the time, or people that, oh, I'm about to start doing this, and then, but I ain't got this or I ain't got that. Like, being resourceful is the number one thing I've learned on this journey, because the answer ain't always clear. You know what I'm saying? It's not like a rule book on success or how to get to the point that you want to get. You just have to be resourceful and use what you have, and just never give up on yourself. That's like my biggest lesson, because some nights, it have been plenty of times where I wanted to quit or I wanted to stop because, things ain't going as fast. I'm putting in this much work, this much money. It's everybody goes through life. But like we said earlier, what in the end will differentiate you from everyone else is your will and how far you are actually willing to go to pursue your dreams. So
I completely agree with that. I mean, there's a couple of things that I bought to like start this podcast again. I started years ago, as I mentioned before we, started filming. But, that C-stand here holding the light, that's been here for a while. The light's been here for a while.
Yep.
I've had this microphone for at least 4 or 5 years. I got that one used, and I give the artist or whoever I have here the better mic.
Right.
Make sure y'all sound good.
Right.
I just think that if you want something, you'll go for it. If you don't want it, then it shows.
Exactly.
I was like, you can talk about it, but you got to be about it, right?
You got to be about it, man. That's the only way people going to respect you. They go off what they see. You know what I'm saying? They say that, I forgot what the saying is, but I think it's people, I don't know if they say people hear with their eyes first, or if it's they see with their ears first. It's one way or the other.
It's one. I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm saying? But that's what I'm saying. You can talk about it all day. It sound good, but you know the old cliche saying that has a lot of truth in it: actions speak louder than words. So
Yep.
You gotta be about it, man.
Simple as that.
Yep.
I'm starting to ask this question more now to anybody that I have on the show.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about, 10 plus years from now,
mm-hmm.
what do you want your impact to be on music, on business, on the world?
Man, I honestly don't know. I really, just being 100% honest with you, I normally have a good answer, but I don't have a real answer. One thing I do know is that in my city and where I'm from in North Carolina, I want to be looked at as someone who put on for the city. You know what I'm saying? And somebody who from the start, he came in it the same. He left out the same way he came in. You know what I mean? Like I wanna uphold my same, and I know I will uphold my same principles and morals that I have now when I get on that bigger stage to really be able to shed the light how I want to be able to, doing good business with people such as yourself and just everybody else that I've done business with in the past. I just want to keep a clean face. Like I just want to be that person that like they're just like, yo, like this dude really put on for the city, the section, like, you know what I'm saying, Raleigh, like he really, he did that. You know what I'm saying? They think about North Carolina, I'm one of those faces, that they see and that they think about. I know that for sure.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Hey man, well, it's been a good one.
For sure.
I appreciate you stopping through.
Yep.
Obviously we're gonna post all your links so everybody
Yep.
can follow MKB for
yes,
sure.
Sir.
And I'm looking forward to, seeing your name up there in likes, man. People
Thank you,
remembering your
man. Thank
name and the impact on the community.
For sure.
Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you for having me, man. And shouts out to Joe Sean and Not Your Day Job podcast. You know what I'm saying? This has by far been like my best interview. No shade to anybody else, but the questions that this man asked and just the conversation and the energy, it just felt good. So I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
I appreciate that, man. I'm trying. I appreciate it.
Thank
All
you,
right.
man.
Well, that's it, man. See you
out.
next time. Peace.
Peace.